So we'll start with some introductions. Hi, my name is Amy. I'm the summer camp manager at Stone Canyon. I have been at Stone Canyon for a little bit over 6 years now, so this will be my seventh summer and my fourth summer as the director. And I'll let our other Stone Canyon staff introduce themselves.
Yeah, my name is Chance. I'm the assistant program manager here at Stone Canyon. I've been working with Stone Canyon for about the same time as Amy. I was a volunteer before that.
Fantastic. So we'll go ahead and get into things. I have it set right now so that you're not able to unmute yourselves just for while we are presenting. Once we get to the end, we'll have time to answer questions. And at that point, I'll change that setting so that you can ask a question over the microphone if you'd like to. You also are welcome to add questions into the chat as we go through the meeting, and we'll kind of circle around to them at the end. One thing that I do want to note before I get going is that as we are getting closer to your summer camp session date, there will be a lot of emails coming from me through our registration software with details about preparing for camp, what to expect, helpful links, that kind of thing. Those emails will be coming on about a weekly basis starting 1 month before your session date. So make sure to check your email. If you haven't received emails from me so far, you are on the Zoom, so I'm guessing that you've gotten the emails. But if you do feel like you're not getting enough communication, please feel free to reach out at any time, and my email address is in the chat. So we have a little presentation to share with you, just kind of based on questions that you shared in that Google form prior to the meeting, as well as common questions that we have come up during these types of calls. So we'll go through things in detail, and then there will be time for questions at the end, like I said. We are really, really excited for this summer. It's kind of dreary outside where I am, but summer is definitely coming up, and we're excited about that. So to start, just to talk a little bit about our staff for the summer. So all of our staff have to be at least 18 years old. Our staff receive first aid and CPR training and provide all supervision and facilitation during the summer. So there's never a time that campers are at camp without a staff member present. Our staff participate in about 2 weeks of staff training. And since Stone Canyon is owned and operated by Douglas County School District, all of our staff are school district employees, and so they're fully background checked, fully trained, all of that. We also have our staff and everyone at camp follow what we call the rule of three. So at no point is anybody alone with anybody else. That includes, two campers being alone with each other, a staff member and a camper. We always try to adhere to that policy of being with 3 people at a time, just for safety reasons. All of our staff also carry a radio at all times that we use for communication around the property. So we are able to communicate as needed regardless of where we are on site. We have expectations at camp that we go over on arrival day with all of our campers, and all of our expectations and behavior policy center around respect. So we set the expectations for campers and staff that we're respecting ourselves, others, and the environment. If campers are struggling with respect, they have conversations kind of scaling up as those conversations need to continue happening, starting with their counselor and then camp admin, eventually including myself and Chance. If the problem is persisting, we'll call home. And ultimately, if we feel that campers are acting in a way that is unsafe for themselves or for other staff or other campers, ultimately we will send home if needed. But knock on wood, that's not something that we ever want to happen during the summer, but will do if needed. A big thing that comes up as far as questions go are what arrival and departure day looks like. So arrivals take place on Sundays between 1:30 and 3:00 p.m. So it's kind of an open arrival window. You're welcome to arrive at any point during that time. Our site is gated, and so we will not open the gate until 1:30 p.m. on Sunday, just because we will be working on preparing the site, making sure our staff are in place for arrival. We don't have a large driveway area outside of the gate. And so we ask that if you do come early, if you build yourself a buffer to get there, we would encourage you to maybe drive down the road a little bit more to Palmer Lake and get some ice cream, just because we don't want traffic to back up onto Highway 105. Once the gate arrives, you'll be directed onto property and to park at our check-in location. There will be several stations to go through during check-in, so that includes making sure that all paperwork is turned in, which I'll talk about more a little bit later in the presentation. We also are required by the state of Colorado that licenses our summer camp to do a health screening of all campers upon arrival. So we're checking temperature, looking inside the mouth to see if the throat is inflamed or has any sores, checking the scalp for lice, and looking at hands and feet for any rashes, just trying to keep anything communicable outside of camp. There also will be a chance to drop off any medications that are being sent to camp with the camp nurse and talk to them just to make sure all details are set for that. You can check on your camp store account, and there will also be a chance to drop off any letters or packages if you'd prefer that rather than sending them. Once kind of all of those stations have been gone through, it'll be time to say your goodbyes at our field, where we'll have counselors and junior counselors ready to kind of incorporate campers into the group that is playing there, while we wait for check-in to end before we move into our arrival day rotations. For departure will take place on Saturdays between 10:30 and 11:30 a.m. Anyone picking up campers has to be listed as an authorized pickup for them, which is something that we'll review during check-in just to make sure that we have everybody on our list that should be. Those authorized pickups also need to bring a photo ID with them for us to check before we can sign campers out to them. During checkout, medications and camp store funds will be returned, and there will also be apparel available for purchase. One thing to note with arrival and departure, so we're located in Larkspur off of Highway 25. Sometimes cell service cuts out a little bit before camp, and so we'd recommend just looking at the directions so you're familiar with them before arriving. It's also worth noting that the Larkspur Renaissance Fair will be in full swing starting in mid-June, I believe. That can back traffic up quite a bit into Larkspur, and so we'd recommend giving yourself plenty of time and looking at other routes, sometimes cutting over onto Highway 105 out of Castle Rock and taking it down can be a nice way to avoid some of that traffic, and also is a really beautiful drive, so just keep that in mind. Next, to talk about medications at camp. So I mentioned we have a nurse at camp 24/7. The nurse is also keeping a radio on them at all times and is ready to respond to anything as needed. There are really strict rules about medications being sent to camp, again, through the organization that licenses us. And so we really have to adhere to these expectations for medications. All medications and supplements being sent to camp need to be sent in their original packaging with the dosage clearly labeled. So that includes prescription medications, but also over-the-counter medications need to be in the original packaging with the name and the dosage there. All medications need to be sent with a medical release form that needs to be completed by a doctor and signed by the doctor and yourself. And our nurse will be checking to make sure that the medications sent match what is on the form. For any medications administered, if they are regularly administered, campers will be escorted to the nurse either in the morning or at night for those regularly scheduled times. Typically in the morning, it's around 7:30 a.m. At night, it's around 8:45 p.m. If they take a medication at a time other than that, the nurse will come find them to deliver that medication. And if they have a medication that is taken as needed, they just need to communicate to whatever staff member they're with that they feel like they need to talk to the nurse about that medication, and they'll radio the nurse, and the nurse will come find them and assess and administer that medication. Next up, to talk about food at camp. So we pride ourselves on our food. It's something that we hear really good things about from the kids that come out for summer camp or outdoor ed. We provide delicious and nutritious food, have a really fantastic kitchen staff. that work hard to make sure we have plenty of good and healthy meals for our campers. We're able to accommodate different dietary needs and preferences, no problem typically. I did include our head chef, Chef Kim, her email address is in the chat. And so if you just want to make sure that your camper's dietary need got documented or have specific details to share about it, you can reach out to her. Just being sure to include the session that your camper is attending with. We are what is called a nut aware facility, meaning we don't serve any food that has nuts or nut oils in them. We may serve foods that are processed in facilities that nuts are also processed in. And so if that is a concern, you can also reach out to Chef Kim. Ultimately, our goal is to make sure that all campers are fed. We train our staff to keep an eye on foods that campers are eating. We encourage them to try new foods at camp, even if they're unsure about them. After they have tried them, if they still are not loving the food, we can kind of provide alternatives like a cheese sandwich or buttered noodles or leftovers from previous meals, just to make sure that they're getting the calories that we need, because we're pretty active at camp, and ultimately we want to make sure everybody's getting enough food. All right, next up for camp store.
Yeah, so to talk a little bit about our camp store, the campers have the opportunity to visit our store each day from 2:45 p.m. during our free time. At our camp store, we have both food items and kind of like souvenir apparel items for the kiddos. Our food items all cost $2. It's a set cost, include Gatorade and ice cream bars, popsicles, various candies like Twix and Sour Patch Kids and Skittles, as well as kind of classic snack foods like Cheez-Its and jerky. Those snack foods we tend to monitor throughout the week. So each kid is limited each day to one Gatorade and at most two sweet things or two snacks. So that way, one, they're not burning through their entire camp store allowance, but also to make sure that they're not hopping themselves up on 18 Twix bars in one single day. We also offer apparel items available at our camp store. You are able to order those in advance online through our website. If you don't want to do that, you want to let your kiddo pick them out while they're at camp, they have access to that at the camp store. Those apparel items include water bottles and t-shirts and hoodies and stickers, and the prices for those items runs anywhere from $2 to about $50. Let's see. Our camp store is run entirely online. So the way that we do that is you can set up a camp store account online through our website, as Amy has pulled up right here. If you click on our apparel link down on our website, and then you follow that to our camp store page, there will be an item in our store that is called Camp Store Account. You can purchase anywhere from $5 up. I would say we often will see somewhere on average between like $20 and $30. If you're looking to let your kiddo buy some apparel, you may bump it up more than that. Again, our apparel will run anywhere from probably $20 to $50. That camp store account link through our website will be unavailable until the end of May. That's just to stop any of our OE parents from accidentally buying a camp store account for their outdoor ed kids. So that will be available at the end of May. We'll send out an email to notify you guys when that's available. Camp store money that's left over at the end of the week is non-refundable below $5. Anything above $5, we're happy to refund. Anything under $5, we'll have our camp store available at pickup day, and campers will be able to spend some more money there if you want. Anything under $5 gets donated to our tuition assistance fund for other camp families. So this is our daily schedule. As you can see, our campers, they start the day at 7 o'clock. From 7 to 8 o'clock, they have time to get ready for their day. There's the option to shower. All of our campers get the opportunity to shower every day. Breakfast is at 8 o'clock. It runs from 8 to 9, where they'll sign up for later activities and eat breakfast. From 9 to 11 are our club activities. So during registration, you signed your camper up for one of our 5 clubs. That includes Thrill Seekers, Outdoor Avengers, Zoo Crew, Team Cuisine, and Creative Minds. During that club, they'll spend that time with their same group each day doing the specific activity of that club. That lasts for about 2 hours. After clubs, we'll have a morning snack from 10:30 to 11, and then we'll jump into our Camper's Choice activities. Here at Stone Canyon, we really focus as much as we can on letting the campers choose what type of camp experience they want to have. So every day at breakfast, they'll sign up for Camper's Choice activities. There are 3 of them each day. They're an hour long. Campers get to choose from each block from 4 to 7 possible options that are rotating throughout the week. That can include high ropes and zip line, archery, tie-dye, arts and crafts, dodgeball, nature hikes, all of our fun camp activities we try to offer throughout the week. So they get to sign up for that at breakfast. They'll do that first one in the morning before lunch. After the first Camper's Choice activity, we'll have lunch for an hour. Then we'll have what we call our siesta block. That is our rest hour. The kids go back to the cabin. They'll spend some time in their bunks doing a quiet individual activity, just have a brain break in the middle of the day. After siesta, we'll have that free time in Camp Store that we talked about earlier. And then in the afternoon, they'll have 2 more hour-long Camper's Choice activity blocks. Dinner happens from 5:30 to 6:30 each night. And after dinner, we do what's called Summer Citizens. Here at Stone Canyon, we believe that teaching kids about servant leadership is really, really important. And so the kids spend a little bit of time after dinner helping us clean up one spot at our camp, maybe doing a trash sweep or helping us clean up our dining hall after dinner, that kind of thing. After Summer Citizens, they go back to their cabins, have some time to prep for the evening activity, and then they do evening activities. That might be like our carnival or our movie night. We do a variety show where the kids can show off a talent or tell a joke or anything like that that they would like to do. And then after the evening activity, they go back to the cabins. They have an hour to get ready for bed. That's another opportunity to shower. And then they have lights out at 10 o'clock and we rest up for the next day. In the event that we have bad weather, obviously Colorado is known for having unpredictable weather. In the summer, we often will see afternoon thunderstorms. We are required by our licensing to move campers indoors if we have lightning anywhere within 10 miles of camp. For that lightning, or if we have really, really heavy rain that's just disrupting the camper experience, we will head inside and we'll have a whole slate of indoor activities available to the campers. We have lots of indoor spaces at camp. We'll have a rec room set up. In the past, we've done bingo and arts and crafts and wood burning. Any of our indoor activities will be available to those campers as well. On Fridays, we take the kiddos to a lake day. So in the morning after breakfast, we'll load them onto 2 DCSD school buses and we'll travel to the Aurora Reservoir for the day. At the Aurora Reservoir, we will hang out. There's a playground. There is an open swim area that is roped in. It has 4 feet. It's about 4 feet deep at its deepest point. That swim beach has lifeguards present at all times. We have lunch at the lake. That transportation, like we mentioned, is provided by DCSD Transportation. The kids have a lot of fun with it. And then we head back to camp just before dinner, and we have dinner at camp. So the way that groups work at camp, outside of cabin time, our campers are intermingled. So all of our camp activities are co-ed. The club activities are co-ed. Like I mentioned before, those 2-hour club blocks, campers are staying with the same group each morning for that 2-hour block each day throughout the week. There's some good opportunities for really getting to make some friends in those activities. And then for Camper's Choice activities, campers get to sign up for those each day at breakfast. So they're able to coordinate with friends to be with the people they want to be with if they want to. In the past, we've had campers sign up because they have their favorite counselor in those activity groups or their favorite other activities or people. And our meals are open seating. So we let the kids in, we dismiss semi-randomly. Usually there's some kind of fun camp competition to see who gets let into the dining hall first. Those kids get to pick their seats wherever they would like to be. So kids, again, can sit with their friends or their favorite counselors, whatever they'd like to do. And our evening activities happen camp-wide. So everyone who's attending camp at that time, we're all spending time together.
Next to talk about cabins, something a lot of people want to know about. So we have 2 large cabins on our site that are separated by gender. Each cabin has 4 smaller bunk rooms within it that sleep 10 to 14 people, just depending on the room. You can see a photo of some of our bunk beds. Each bunk room will be divided by age. So generally we have a bunk of 9 and 10-year-olds, 11 and 12-year-olds, 13 and 14-year-olds. There is some flex to that just depending on the ages of campers that are registered for each session. Each bunk room will have a counselor assigned to stay in it and kind of supervise those campers during any cabin times. We do our best to accommodate bunkmate requests that were made during the registration process. Typically, right, if you are requesting a bunkmate for your camper that's the same age as them, they likely would end up in the same room without the request even. If there's a request made for campers of different ages, our policy is to bunk down, meaning if a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old requested to be in the same room, the 14-year-old would be bunked down into the room with other 11 and 12-year-olds rather than moving the 12-year-old up. Our cabins have electricity, heat, and running water. All of our cabins also have several single-use bathrooms within them. So 3 or 4 bathrooms that have, locking doors for the toilet and showering areas. And all campers are given the opportunity to shower each day at camp. We do require campers to take a minimum of 2 showers during the week of camp, just to make sure we're not getting too dirty. Next, what to pack for camp. So we do have a packing list available on our website. If you go to the summer camp tab, it'll drop down to parent information. And then scrolling to the bottom is our enrolled families hub that has a lot of helpful information. I also shared that to the chat so you can access that if needed. We do ask that you follow the packing list closely as we have been thoughtful about what is on there to make sure that campers are bringing enough stuff and the right stuff and not too much stuff. We do want to note that closed-toed shoes are required anytime campers are outside of their cabins. Closed-toed shoes do not include Crocs. And so if you send your camper with Crocs, they'll only be permitted to wear those in the cabin or during lake day. We do require closed-toed shoes because of our high ropes and zip line activities and archery. And we just prefer that campers have closed-toed shoes to make sure we're staying safe at camp. A common question with the packing list is what to pack for bedding for campers. Is that something you'll be sending with them? It really is up to you. We have twin mattresses on our bunk beds. And I would say often families are sending maybe a fitted sheet to go over that mattress along with a blanket or a sleeping bag and a pillow. If you prefer to send, a set of sheets and a few blankets, that is fine too. We typically have warm weather during the summer and do have windows that can open and close in the cabins to kind of moderate the temperature, but typically a light to moderate blanket is just fine during the summer. We also strongly encourage that you label as many items that you're sending to camp as possible. We do collect lost and found items and try to return them to their owners. We do a lot of showing off of different items that have been lost to try to have their owners reclaim them. But having a name on a tag or a water bottle is really helpful for returning those items to their proper owner.
On the topic of what to pack is what not to pack, of course. We have a list of things that are not permitted to be brung to camp. We call that contraband. So obviously on the list is weapons. That includes pocket knives and lighters. We know that maybe in the classic camp experience, there was a time when that was highly encouraged for campers to bring, but no pocket knives, no lighters, pretty much anything that wouldn't be allowed at school, please do not bring it. Also on that list is food. We provide our campers with 3 meals a day, along with snack in the morning and that access to the camp store in the afternoon. So campers get plenty of access to food. They don't need to bring extra. We try to prevent critters from making their way into our cabins, being attracted by any lingering scent. So no food. Also electronics. We are a tech-free camp. Part of the experience at camp that makes it so beneficial is these kids get a little bit of a break from their very tech-full world. So any type of electronic, we discourage you from sending your child with it, and it will be confiscated and just held till the end of the week and sent home with the camper at the end of the week if they are bringing something like that. Those do include things like smartwatches and Kindles or audiobooks from the library, that kind of thing. None of those are permitted at our camp. And then medications, like Amy mentioned before, we have a nurse on site who is going to be the primary care provider for all medications. Anything that is not being given to the nurse at the start of the week is again going to be confiscated and held to the end of the week or held till we can get in contact with people at home. Homesickness is kind of a classic camp theme. Obviously, for a lot of these campers, especially given the state of the world the last couple of years, it may be their first time away from home, or it may be their first time away from home for an extended period of time. We do see homesickness crop up. We train all of our staff on how to recognize and navigate homesickness. They have a very clear path to follow in terms of talking the campers through it, helping them to process those feelings, not telling them that they shouldn't feel that way, but maybe showing them how they can go through the day while feeling that way and still enjoy the day. If we notice bits of homesickness that are really not going away, those staff know to bump it up to myself or Amy or one of the other leadership team, and we help to navigate further. We generally don't allow phone calls home when a camper is homesick. Generally, if a camper's missing parents, hearing the voice of a parent is usually not helpful. It tends to make things worse. Things that you as guardians can all do to help prepare your camper, really focus on how excited you are for their camp experience. Make sure to talk to them beforehand about how many fun activities they're going to do and how you can't wait to hear about their adventures when they get home. We do not do phone calls home, like I mentioned, really under any circumstance, unless there's an emergency or a birthday. We do encourage letters or emails, which we'll talk about later. If you're sending those letters and emails, really try to avoid expressing how much you miss them. Again, focus on those how excited you are for hearing about their experience. Here at Stone Canyon, we're out and about for about 15 hours each day. As long as the sun is up, we're up running around doing the fun things. Obviously, in a Colorado elevation and the sun altitude and everything like that, we want to make sure that our kids are hydrated and protected from the sun. So regular water intake is really stressed and monitored by our staff. We do a lot of things that really try to make it into a little bit of a game, right? Pausing regularly to do like big group water sips. We call them water appreciation moments. If campers forget water bottles, we have plenty of loaners that we can offer to campers throughout the week. And then we have insulated jugs with ice water in them throughout camp so that water bottles can be refilled throughout the day at any activity. On the topic of sunscreen, we encourage regular sunscreen application pretty much between every activity. We're reminding campers to reapply. Our camp staff carry sunscreen that can be given to campers as long as permission was given during registration. Again, if you've given permission for over-the-counter medications and that kind of thing, sunscreen is included in that permission. And then our staff are usually happy to help with application if necessary. Often they are very, very good at coaching campers through how to get it applied well without having to actually help themselves. To get back to camper mail, each day during free time, we are passing out mail to all of the campers who have received it. There are a couple of options that we have for mail. Again, we don't do phone calls home or anything if you're trying to get in contact with your camper, but we do encourage you to write letters. One option is to send snail mail, just like classic USPS route. If you are going to do that, we would highly recommend you send out your letter prior to Thursday of the week your camper is there to make sure that it actually makes it to us before you guys come and pick your campers up. You're also welcome to send emails to mail@stonecanyonedge.org. Our policy is we will print out one email per day per camper. So if you're inviting other family members, grandparents, cousins, sisters, brothers to write emails to campers, just make sure that they're just understand the expectation is we'll only print one email per day per camper. And then campers have the option to write letters back. So if you send them with envelopes and stamps, we are happy to mail those out once they've been written. A trick that we have found is very, very helpful is to pre-write the addresses onto those envelopes and maybe even put the stamp on beforehand. We will have templates up on the walls that the campers can copy, but often it is challenging to get that written out right when you're 10. You're also welcome to bring pre-written letters or care packages to arrival day to be passed out to your camper. If you're going to do that, any dropped off items need to include their name and the day you'd like them to be delivered. So if you're dropping off 3 letters and you want it delivered Monday, Wednesday, Friday, make sure you've labeled them accordingly. If you are dropping off a care package, you are allowed to drop off 1 care package for each camper per week. So we're not doing more than 1. When we're doing care packages, a couple of things to keep in mind. Again, that no food policy for all of our campers is true throughout the week. So if they get food in care packages, we do have to confiscate that just to make sure that we're keeping our campers safe from wildlife. Good ideas include those like activity books, photos of family or of back at home, bubbles, Play-Doh, anything that can be kind of small and carried around and ideally not disposed of in the middle of the day. That would be a great idea.
Last, I just wanted to talk about uploading forms. So there are a few items of paperwork that we do require to be submitted, either prior to Camp Online, or you can bring them to check-in day for arrival. I already mentioned that medication release form for any medication sent to camp. If you're not bringing any meds to camp, there's no need for that form to be filled out or submitted. We do require an updated copy of the camper's immunizations. There is a specific form that we prefer that to be in that is linked on our website and will also be sent to you via email. So if you can do your best to upload that specific form, that is very helpful for us in our licensing process. And then lastly is a physical that has been performed in the last 365 days, so in the last year. To upload forms, you log into your Active account. Under your session, you'll have the option to download or upload a form, and then you can upload that form into the appropriate spot to upload it. And I linked in the chat a spot to connect to your Active account and log in there. If you have questions about any of that paperwork, you can always reach out at any time over email or phone. That is the presentation that we had put together for you. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I will go ahead and select the option so that you all can unmute yourselves if you'd like to. But we also will go to the chat and start answering the questions that are there. This presentation was being recorded and will be uploaded onto our site after we're off of the call, and will also be emailed to you so that you have it to reference. I see what happens if the camper gets sick right before their scheduled week. We do ask that campers are not sent to camp if they're not in good health, because of the close quarters. Sickness can go through campers and staff pretty quickly at camp. So if you need to delay bringing them to camp until a little bit later in the week, that would be our preference, and you could contact myself over email or phone, and we could coordinate a good time for you to drop them off. Next, I see, how do you handle bullying at camp? So that goes back to our respect behavior policy. So the expectation that we're setting with campers on the first day is that we're respecting other people. That includes being kind with our words and topics of conversation about them. We train our staff on kind of noticing those interactions and addressing them one-on-one with campers if we determine that it's helpful to kind of bring them together for a conversation. We'll do that. Often in the cases of bullying, those situations are kicked up to Chance or myself for us to address. And at the end of the day, our policy is respect. And so if a camper is bullying somebody else and is not changing their behavior after being spoken to, we will send them home to make sure camp is a safe environment. The nightlight policy or situation. So we do have those clearly labeled kind of like neon green exit signs in the cabins at each exit of bunk rooms. And so while we turn the lights off to sleep, there's always kind of a little bit of light filtering in from those signs. And we also have night lights placed in hallways outside of the cabins to allow for campers to get up in the middle of the night and use the bathroom if they need to. If there's a camper that really needs a light close to them while they're sleeping, that can be a conversation that they have with their counselor, and we can potentially move a nightlight as needed to help them feel comfortable in the cabins. As far as what kids are wearing in the night on their feet, I think most campers do bring some type of flip-flop or Croc type of shoe to wear in the hallways and the bathrooms if they'd like to. The physical form does need to be within the last 365 days. I understand that insurance can sometimes be a little bit funny about that. And so you can email me that question and I can just check into it to make sure. But based on my understanding, it does need to, they are pretty strict about it needing to be within that specific time period. Any other questions from anyone? All right, well,